Unscripted.
Needless to say, things got quite out of hand early from both Microsoft and Sony when it comes to both their pre-orders and the promises made and sort of shots that they took at each other and things like that. But one thing is very certain is that there's always going to be some kind of media outlet there to call you out on your nonsense, and that's sort of the case what happened right here. Both IGN and other outlets have been kind of on a roll lately, sort of taking shots at Microsoft as needed, and this is something that I felt like needed to be said by that big outlet just in general, because Microsoft was sort of bringing it on themselves, and I can understand why they would sort of try to do that, given that they themselves were sort of kind of poking fun at Sony for the way that they handled a lot of the stuff with the PS5 pre-orders. But, again, a lot of the Xbox fans aren't going to like this. A lot of the Xbox fans think this is media bias. Honestly, this is just, at the end of the day, a media site doing what they're supposed to do, sort of calling out a company that's kind of got a little bit too big for their britches, even though Sony and Microsoft are both competing with each other, and even though Microsoft is doing some good things lately, buying some studios and rumored to buy some others, they still need to be kept in check. Both these companies do, and so it's very cool to see, a big site, a gaming site, sort of do that, and I have to say this was pretty interesting, so I think a lot of people are going to enjoy this video. What's up, everybody? Crapgamer here with Crapgamer Reviews, back with another video. Thank you so much for checking it out. I really do appreciate it. Please like, share, subscribe. I would appreciate that as well. It helps out the channel a lot, and it means a lot to me personally. If you're looking the way to support a small channel like my own, the best way to do that, a simple like, that says it all. You can also take a minute to consider subscribing, and you can hit the bell so you're notified of everything as soon as it drops. I do daily content, and I do unscripted, right, pure from the heart content every single day, so you can look forward to that. And I love the interaction with all the fans and stuff like that. So a quick shout out to all the old subscribers, new subscribers, everybody in between. You have been fantastic, and I absolutely love the interaction with you guys, especially lately on PSN, Xbox Live, on Twitter, wherever it may be. You guys have been fantastic, so thank you so much. Well, we do know that Microsoft and Sony are battling it out. Another generation, yes, it's been a quick 7 years, hasn't it? To think we came from Xbox One completely dropping the ball, doing DRM, and, and trying to force people to accept a digital future, to 7 years later, Xbox doing DRM and trying to get people to accepting a digital future. But people are much more receptive now. So 7 years can change a lot of things. Obviously, things have changed tremendously for both Microsoft and Sony. We've had a heck of a generation. Sony, 115 million consoles sold almost, and you have Xbox One at that whopping 41 million sold. So, the more things change, the more things stay the same. But obviously, Microsoft got pretty hammered this past generation, so much so that they actually had to, go about making so many changes and kind of changing their entire direction and course as a company, from consoles and trying to get people to buy the consoles to hey, we're not going to win there ever, so let's go ahead and put our stuff on as much different platforms as we can. And that's sort of the way that they're going at in the future. And for them, I think that makes a lot of sense. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense for Sony at this particular juncture, just for the fact that they're a hardware company still. They don't have the PC integration like Microsoft does, and for the fact that it's just one of those things where we're going to keep seeing Sony kind of do some old school stuff mixed in with some new school stuff, and you have Microsoft. They're going to continue to sort of, I think, just evolve into, they finally become a third-party entity, which I think is their ultimate end goal. Now, you might think that's crazy, but that's where the money is for them. If they're all really just truly about the money, then clearly that's what it's going to come down to, okay? Same thing with, listen, there's much more money in doing just the content than there is trying to build and R&D new consoles and all that kind of stuff. So you can see why both Microsoft would maybe look to Sega or some of these other companies that used to do hardware, and now they just do software, and they see all that money built up there. But when it comes to what IGN was doing and calling out Microsoft about, I thought this was pretty interesting, and I just thought, this is funny, it's worth definitely talking about. So you guys might remember that Microsoft took quite a bit of shots at Sony for the way that they handled the pre-order mess. So Sony announced that the PlayStation 5 availability details during the Wednesday event, and in the most unusual way possible for a highly anticipated product. The price and release date were announced at the end of the virtual press event, and they featured trailers for upcoming PlayStation games. Then they told Sony told fans on Twitter that pre-orders would start on Thursday, without revealing any of the other details. This was very contrary to Sony's previous remarks, as the company said a few weeks ago that PS5 pre-orders would go and would be well detailed so as not to surprise gamers. It turns out that was a joke, and buyers looking to get a PlayStation 5 as early as possible. Multiple retailers started taking PS5 orders right away, right after the event, instead of waiting for the next day, and they instantly depleted their PS5 stockpiles. Attempting to place a PS5 pre-order on Thursday will get you nowhere, and you won't be able to tell whether the PS5 is out of stock already or whether pre-orders have been delayed. Microsoft actually kind of tried to take advantage of this and reminded buyers that Xbox pre-orders would start next week, making sure to mock Sony in the process. The Xbox Series X and S were both made available to pre-orders on September 22nd. So they posted this little thing: pre-orders September 22nd, worldwide launch 36 countries, November 10th, hype 9,000 plus. Don't worry, we'll let you know the exact time pre-orders start for you soon. So, you know, they really kind of stuck it to them a little bit there or whatever. And, it is what it is, because that's what these companies are going to do. These are major companies, major players in these companies. And, we keep seeing this kind of stuff happen, and it's going to continue to happen, even though Microsoft claims that they're not in competition. Clearly, they're in competition. So I find that to be quite humorous. So with that being said, and I even gave Sony heck for that, right? I was like, yeah, they kind of bungled that. So John Davison, who is an IGN person, he actually tweeted out, maybe don't S on the competition if your own store link doesn't work, Xbox Series X. And even Matt Piscatella from the NPD said Sony did a great job with the PS5 pre-orders, actually. And Rod Ferguson, former head of Coalition Studios and Microsoft employee, said, well, that didn't go according to plan, probably karma for pre-ordering PS5. So everybody that thought that Sony did things wrongly, turns out kind of apologized, and even Microsoft, for kind of poking fun at Sony, ended up looking much worse in my opinion, because Sony at least had more stock. Now when you look at it, when you ask individual like GameStops and some of these other places why they did what they did in terms of, hey, they opened up pre-orders and things like that way early, the main reason was because they didn't want people waiting in line, because we're in the middle of a pandemic. So people kind of like, even with my PS5, you're able to just go in there and pre-order. And it didn't give the bots time to pre-order and take all the sales for scalpers and things like that, so they can resell them on eBay. Because what happens is Sony didn't give them enough time to run the scripts to do that, whereas Microsoft gave everybody enough time to do that. And then so, of course, you had a bunch of bots end up buying the product before fans could actually get a chance to. So that was a bit disheartening and disappointing to actually see that kind of happen. But at the end of the day, I do feel like both companies could have handled things better, but what are you going to really do, because we are in the middle of a pandemic. Microsoft promises one thing, and they didn't really deliver. They promised a better pre-order situation, and they really failed to do that. Sony, on the other hand, we all gave them crap for the way they handled things, but at the end of the day, I don't feel like it was as bad as all that. A lot of people were able to get it. Not only that, but their stock wasn't nearly as limited. Remember when everybody was saying that there was bad yields and all this kind of stuff? Turns out that wasn't the case. And now when you look at the Xbox side of things, most GameStops got 2 Xbox Series S's or less. And, it's really just kind of goes to show you, and kind of humbling in a way, that, these companies are sort of kind of lost in what to do, but I do also think that some of the situation has to deal with the current situation and state of the world. Once again, going back to the pandemic, but we haven't heard anything about Microsoft flying in extra content or extra consoles for people like the way that Sony is. And Sony probably takes it a little bit more serious, where Microsoft doesn't really care. There's not really much on Xbox Series X or S that can honestly require that console specifically. Actually, I don't think there's anything not playable on Xbox One at their launch that plays on Series S or the X. So that goes to show you. I know Sony's doing a few cross-gen games too now, unfortunately, but at the end of the day, they still have exclusives. Stuff like Demon Souls, Destruction All-Stars, I think Astrobot, and then of course next year Ratchet & Clank, God of War, and Gran Turismo 7, all PS5 only. So there are a lot of games coming that are going to take full advantage of the PlayStation 5 hardware. Not to say that the games will be bad if they're cross-gen. I'm just saying that they aren't going to be up to par with what they could have been in the long term if those companies would have just, not did cross-gen games. But again, it's a business. You kind of understand that. We call them out when they do this kind of stuff because it did kind of allude to not happening. And then it ended up doing it. So, it kind of is what it is. But anyway, I would love everybody's thoughts and opinions on this down below. You can hit me up on Twitter at @the_Crapgamer, Xbox Live, MOH Space Crapgamer. That's like Medal of Honor, Space Crapgamer, or PSN, just Crapgamer. I respond to everybody that messaged me on those sites. Just do me a favor, hit me up, say, hey, let's talk, and I'll do my best. So with that being said, I'll link all the stuff in the description. You guys can check it out and let me know what you think. I hope you all stay safe, happy, and healthy. It would mean the world to me that you guys take care of yourself and be good to one another. And thank you guys so much for spending time with me and watching another one of my videos. If you enjoy it, please take a minute to consider subscribing, hit the bell, all that kind of good stuff. Share it out, tell your friends. It's been a great day, great stuff to talk about. I appreciate it. Rack 'em up. Game on, everybody. Game on. Crapgamer out.
Unscripted.